Hello everybody and welcome Jenny Jones. Thank you for joining us. Jenny Jones is a very familiar face on the bowling greens, but not just on the bowling greens. She's also very well recognized in administration. Jenny is highly accoladed. We have seen her on the greens, not just in district competitions or club competitions, but she also participates in a lot of fun competitions as well. Jenny Jones, as you know, is our national selector, our convener, and she's joining us today at the beautiful Wingate Country Park Bowls Club to talk us through a couple of important things which we think is only going to add value to you, our bowls fraternity. So thank you for joining us, Jenny, on this day. So the first question, Jenny, it is quite something to be a selector, but also to be a convener. And a lot has changed since then and now in terms of selecting. And I speak for myself, there's a lot of detail that goes into selecting, but the know-how and the knowledge of what that detail is, talk us through it and what is it all about?
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Chantal. Yes, a lot of people do know me as a bowler, but as you can see, this year I will not be participating as a player in the SA Masters. I will be supporting my colleagues as selectors alongside the green. So there's a lot of talent that we will be able to watch. And yes, it's indeed a great privilege for me to be a selector of Bowls South Africa. I know a lot of the bowls, I've watched a lot of the bowls, and it's actually a privilege to be heading up the selection as the convener with Susan Nell, very accomplished bowler and coach herself, Trish Young from Western Province. Trish also an accomplished Commonwealth gold medalist and a good bowler from Western Province. Then we've got Nan Roos, who's from the Eden District. Nan, many national titles, also represented South Africa in the senior fours in Cyprus last year. Then we have the evergreen Nikki Neal. Nikki Neal is from the Sables District, and Nikki too has represented South Africa on the international stage, also got Commonwealth medals, and so those girls, or those ladies shall I say, have represented South Africa with pride, and it's only a privilege for me to be part of that setup. And as the convener, it's not really my responsibility to pick the players. The role I fulfill as a convener is that I organize the meetings, I collate the information, and then organize the meeting, and then the ladies beforehand put forward their nominations.
Right.
So to get to those nominations, though, what happens is there is a modus operandi for selection.
Right.
So unlike selecting for squads or whatever the case is, when you look at the SA Masters, it is a singles competition.
Yes.
So we pick players predominantly on their singles record. When it comes to players that have similar singles records, obviously we then need to look just a little bit outside that, and that's why the nomination form that they fill in through their districts also has space for pairs, because it's also a 4-bowl competition.
Right.
So it's mixed pairs, it's the ladies pairs, and then it's the singles record. And the singles record is from district level, then it's provincial level, then it's national level. Obviously, if there's international representation, then that will be taken into account as well. To get to the information, we obviously have a transparent selection policy, which is outlined by Bowls South Africa. In other words, David Hamer and his executive. Naturally, that all gets discussed between the women and the men selectors to see that it's transparent and that we can operate within those guidelines. So for those people that don't know, you might think it's a big secret. Years ago, it may have been a secret. Now it is totally transparent. So you can go onto the Bowls South Africa website. In other words, you can switch on your cell phone.
Right.
You can then go into Google
Right.
Google, you then go into Bowl South Africa.
Yes.
When you get to Bowl South Africa, you hyperlink on the Bowl South Africa thing.
Wonderful.
Then you'll notice there's 3 little dots, or 3 little lines, okay? You then hyperlink on the 3 little lines and it brings you down a drop-down menu. You then go all the way down to Info Hub.
Yes.
All right. Once you get into Info Hub, you'll then see that there's annual reports, there's downloads, there's forms, there's modus operandis, etc., etc. We then go into, we go into downloads. And when you get into downloads, you'll then see policies and regulations.
Right.
You then click on policies and regulations, click to open that document, and there you have your policies and regulations. Now, obviously there's quite an extensive contents over here, but you go down to chapter 4, chapter 3, and you'll see Bowl South Africa National Selection Policy. There's an introduction, there's squads, there's junior and SA team players, there's SA Masters, and there's general. So as I indicated to start off with, Chantal, the Masters is not a competition where we would be thinking, okay, so we're going to pick a particular player because we believe in 3 to 5 years' time she may be able to represent South Africa on the world stage as a singles player. This is players throughout the country, the best in the districts. The district selection committees need to take the players' records, ask the players to submit their records. They need to sign them off, and through their district secretaries, those then get sent through to Bowl South Africa. Bowl South Africa then put them into the categories of maybe veterans, of open, and of under 30. Okay. In the selection policy as well, there's also certain guidelines for us. In other words, if somebody has got a very, very good record, and just because they're 61 years old, doesn't mean to say they have to be picked for the veterans. However, somebody that's 59 cannot be picked for the veterans because you need to be 60 years and over. Then when we get to the junior category, which is the under 30, the players need to be a certain age on a particular day of that particular year.
Right.
But then, because the winner of the junior nationals qualifies to represent South Africa on the world stage at the under 25 junior world indoor, we are obliged as selectors to pick at least 4 of the players need to be under 25 of the under 30s, okay? So that's our guideline. So we can't deviate from that. We have to do that. So what happens is all the players through their districts submit the forms. We then as selectors receive those forms from Bowl South Africa, and then we do our homework. So Susan, Trish, Nan, and Nikki, and myself spend a week or so analysing these forms, and informally, the 5 of us have got like a little spreadsheet that determines national level, district level, provincial level, whatever the case is, and obviously weightings as well as to how many rounds that competition was. So in other words, I'm just going to take a willy-nilly. Let's just say you play for a small district, Sedibeng, okay? And Sedibeng's district singles is 4 rounds, all right? But I hypothetically play for BGM, and ours is 8 rounds of singles. There will be a little bit of a risk weighting there, because naturally somebody that's won 8 games to win their singles, or 4 games to win their singles, you know, there's a little bit of extra competition.
Absolutely.
So we do that all together, and then once everybody has sent their nominations through to me, I collate the information. Generally we find that we do have similar choices, but what we need to bear in mind as well is that as per the modus operandi, the winner, the silver medalist, and the 2 bronze medalists automatically qualify for the following year's Masters. They get invited automatically. Naturally, that is subject to them being in good standing with their district. So if somebody has been in trouble, the district wouldn't send us their nomination form. So even though those players qualify, they still need to send us their record, because If they send it directly to us and they've got a little bit of a dark record with their district, we will know about it. That's why it needs to come through their district office. So we then, for the Open, have to pick 16 players, of which 4 of those are already qualified. We then pick 12. On the veterans and the under 30 side, we then, the same process there. They also, the top 4 from the previous, they qualify. So now we only need to pick, 6 and 6. So there's players on either side, right? So out of the 12 players, we only need to pick 8, all right? In the juniors, and we need to pick 8. And then, obviously, if the previous year's winners or medalists weren't in that under 25 category, we've got to pick players under 25 to make up and to make sure that we are complying with the regulations. Okay, so it's quite a lengthy process. Naturally, we also look at past records from the Masters. So, as an example, if somebody from a Sedibeng, like yourself, maybe, has played because you won your district Masters, you won your district singles, and you got maximum points, if you come to the Masters and you play and you're really out of your depth, we've got to look seriously at that, because we cannot compromise players that have got good records from bigger districts to compromise somebody that is not that competitive. So, as you said at the opening of the interview, this is our prestigious tournament. So we need to pick the top bowlers in the singles area that can make this a blue ribbon event.
I see, Jenny, that provincially, a larger portion of the selected Masters come from your province, Gauteng province. Is that because there are more bowlers to choose from, and because the process, they're a lot more experienced?
Look, I think Gauteng, when you look at the districts that make up the Gauteng district, I do believe that if you look at the number of competitive bowlers in South Africa, you're looking at Sedibeng, you're looking at Sables, you're looking at JBA, you're looking at BGM, you're looking at Ekurhuleni Bowls. There are a lot of players that make up that competitive thing. Not to say that Western Province or Southern Free State or Northwest or Northern Cape, Border, Boerland. The thing is, though, the players need to be competitive.
Yes.
And their records need to be built.
Yes.
So you might find that you have an opportunity, and we actually had it this year with nominations. Last year there was a young girl, I'm not going to state from which province she was. She actually submitted a record, and she had a good 3-year record. Because this is what it's based on, is a 3-year singles record, and then we maybe add pairs and mixed pairs if we need to.
Right.
She had a good year, good couple of years. In 2025, she achieved absolutely nothing. Now, we can't just pick somebody because they played last year. She might have done reasonably well last year, but she didn't feature in the medals, so she doesn't get an automatic invitation, but she needs to be competitive. So to all the bowlers out there, it's important that you continue to build your records. You cannot take a year off and expect to be recognized like the other guys that are putting in the hard yards.
Agreed, you've got to be current. Thank you, Jenny, that's great. Jenny, if we look at now at the Masters, it's a critical time for you to endeavour to seek for possibility for the next international games. Is the choice and the selection of this year's Masters, what does that have to do, if anything, with choosing international players for the next international competitions?
No. Look, with the Masters, and this counts for the Open Masters and it counts for the under 30 Masters, okay, the Junior Masters, is Bowl South Africa has made a decision that the winner of the Open Masters and the best under 25 player will qualify to go to respective indoor events. So that has got nothing to do with selection. So we, as far as we're concerned, the players are picked and they need to compete against each other and try and work at that international recognition. Naturally, Bowl South Africa then pay for that trip to the World Indoor or to the juniors, where we've got juniors at the moment that have travelled to Ireland.
Right.
But it's up to the player that has to do that. Bowl South Africa sends, obviously with the juniors there is representation because they need that representation. But if you take when Jason Evans won the Masters in 2025, as did Esme Kruger, they went off to Aberdeen in Scotland. And there was no coaches, there was no Bowl South Africa support. Bowl South Africa funded the trip, but they need to go and represent themselves and Bowl South Africa on the international stage.
Right.
So from our point of view, we're picking a singles representative. In my time, I've been playing bowls for 35 years. Sometimes you get somebody that is a single specialist that isn't necessarily a team player. So I think when we look at picking people for the Masters, we are not looking at, indirectly we're looking at a bigger picture.
Sure.
We hope that the players in the current gold squad that we have recognised that need to be part of the whole setup that we believe we've invested money in, and they've responded by showing us what they're capable of doing, that they then get to reach that pinnacle.
Right.
But if they don't, well, then they've got to look at re-establishing their record. So a couple of years ago, just for the record, there was a lady by the name of Lorenzo van der Merwe. She actually won the national singles. She got invited to the Masters and she won the Masters. So it's very seldom that you get that type of thing. In the past, if you look at the records and the previous winners and the silver medalists and the bronze medalists, generally those players are coming from your gold squad, which are your recognised players. However, you know, there might be somebody out there that plays their way into a possibility that they could play for South Africa one day. But with the squads, in other words, we've got a gold squad. It was previously at 12 players, and last year we had 24 green squad players that we had picked as selectors. Due to reasons that Bowl South Africa disclosed in circulars, those numbers got cut. So we've got 8 people in the gold squad, and due to funding, the green squad is still there. However, they didn't go for another cap. Right. With the recent funding, and I'm sure David will cover that in more detail if you interview him, is that if we get the necessary funding, then Bowl South Africa give us as selectors guidelines of what to pick. So we don't dictate that. Yes. We get asked to pick players to represent South Africa. So the green squad currently is also 8 players.
Yes, correct.
Now, again, just so that people know, is if you look at the modus operandi, for squad selection, we need to be representative of the country's dynamics and stuff. And of the 8 players in the gold squad, 8 players in the green squad, we need to have a minimum of 2 players of colour. Whereas in the Masters, there is no such condition. So that goes purely on singles record and record. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question, Chantal.
That does, very detailed. Thank you, Jenny. Now, in closing the interview, Jenny, you're not bowling this year. She got a bronze last year. She would easily have been nominated, selected, invited to play again this year. You're sitting with a different hat on this year. But I'm sure that the 2 experiences, albeit so different, they're both very special to you, that being a bowler and now being a convener and observer as well. Because you've got so much experience in the administration of our sport and the playing and participating of our sport, any message that you have for our bowlers in the Pinnacle Masters 2026?
Yeah, it's first of all, I'd like to say the bowlers that have been recognised need to believe that they've been recognised by the South African selectors as being the best that we could possibly select. Secondly, they need to prepare themselves You know, playing the Masters over a 3-day period where you're playing a maximum of 3 sessions a day in the Open and 2 sessions a day in the Vets and the Under 30, you need to be bowls fit. So it doesn't help that you say, oh, thank you, I've been selected, but you don't work at your game. So your fitness and your mental strength needs to be at in top class condition. Yes, I don't think there's any easy games in the Masters in any of those categories. I think tongue in cheek, that's why I didn't want to be considered this year. I've decided my singles days are over. 35 years of singles is more than enough for me. But in any of those categories, there's talent like you can't believe it. I am, as a selector of this Bowl South Africa, I'm extremely excited about the talent that there is on the singles front, as well as what there is throughout the country. And it's exciting times for South Africa. With regard to the players that have been selected, get your minds right, get your bodies in shape, and believe in yourself, because you are the best that have been selected. And even if you just try your best, just do it. You know, on a day, if you believe in yourself and you come with a positive mindset, I believe you can achieve a medal. So yes, I believe that the greens at Wingate are being groomed to be in tip-top condition. We are having a lot of rain here, so for those guys that might see the interview, they come from out of Gauteng. The greens, we look, and I spoke to the greenkeeper the other day, or the overseer, Bertus van Rensburg, and he was telling me that they're striving for about 14 seconds. We're having, as we speak now, we have got rain. My home club is actually Wingate, and I love the greens at Wingate. So I wish everybody the best luck and the best of bowling. But it could be a once in a lifetime opportunity. So we're all told, if you get an opportunity, use it. So don't blame us if you don't get invited again. Yes. You need to keep those records going, and as I say, is just do your best and enjoy every minute.
Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a spectacular interview with Jeannie Jones, informative and educational as well. So please come down and support us for the Masters in February, the 6th to the 8th. And if you see Jeannie Jones around the greens, be sure to pop on over, say hello. Don't be scared to ask her any questions, because she is a walking encyclopedia. Jeannie, thanks for joining us. It's always so refreshing talking to you, and have a lovely, lovely drive home today.
Thanks, Chantal. Thank you very much.